Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of CopaLoadofRacing, where we're looking ahead to Sandown's big jumps finale, as well as a couple of races at Ripon and one at Haydock on the level at both of those meetings. Break last week due to the Easter holidays. The weather was so good that I just wanted to enjoy the weather, to be fair. Last week we were planning to look ahead to Musselburgh, of course, and the racing that took place there. Pretty decent card it was at Musselburgh for Easter Saturday, as it usually is. Big crowd in as well, big family day at Musselburgh, and as I say, they got the weather for it, and Austrian School for Mark Johnson looked a real class act in the Queen's Cup there, that stayers race, which is growing in stature as we go on throughout the season. So it was a good card at Musselburgh last week, and a pretty decent fare there. Hamilton gets underway next Sunday, the day of the 1,000 guineas. They've got their big family fun day. We'll look at that next Friday for their opening fixture. No racing. There was meetings planned this week at Ayr, but those were abandoned a couple of weeks ago due to some work. The ground hasn't recovered from some work that has been carried out on the flat track, so we're not going to see any racing there until May. At the earliest, Ayr have said that they are very positive that the next planned meetings will go ahead. So let's hope that is the case there. But Perth's festival has also been very successful this week. Mixed bag of weather. Gordon Elliott's been over as usual. Plenty of trainers coming from down south, but the Scottish trainers have been holding their own at the festival this week. And I'm sure the pubs in and around Perth have been busy with it's really kind of like an end of season fair for a lot of the trainers and connections. They like to come up to Perth and enjoy it, and with Punchestown not taking place at the same time as sometimes it can happen, it's been a real successful time at the opening 3 days for Perth. Right, as I say, looking ahead to the racing this weekend, it's jumps finale at Sandown. They had the big flat meeting, the first flat meeting of the season today, where we've seen Crystal Ocean win very well, and King Power horses are really coming to the fore at the moment. Beat the Bank, winning again. Bangkok also looking very impressive. So a good trials day there for Sandown. The classic trial, sorry, a good competitive race, so plenty of action as they back at Sandown tomorrow, but it's back over the jumps they will be going. Excuse me one moment, the last blog I did, this dog was playing up, and he certainly is this time. I'm just going to let him out. Been alright today, but anyway. Right, okay, so yeah, flat action. So I've seen some decent trials over the past couple of weeks. It is Guineas weekend next weekend. Yep, it is. It's Guineas weekend next weekend. First two classics of the season. Sadly, we're not going to see Too Damn Hot, which looked very much on the cards, I have to say, when they started drifting in Betfair. And Calix isn't going to run either, so it's opened up the race a bit, so we'll look at that, as I say, on Friday of next week as well. It was interesting to also see you've got coming up as well as next Wednesday, well no, it's at the end of May, sorry, you've got going to be coming up the Royal Trials Day, so we're getting loads of trials that happen all the time. We get Derby trials, Classic trials now, we've got Cheltenham trials, we've got all sorts, Grand National trials, now there's Royal Ascot trials, which takes place with the Cigarro card and so on, that traditionally takes place there. So that's going to be one to look out for in the coming weeks as well. But looking ahead to tomorrow, let's start off with that jumps card at Sandown. I'm just going to look at Altior is going to run in the Celebration Chase as per expected. Suriname isn't going to take up his engagement with them. The ground concerns for Paul Nicholls, it seems to be just too fast at the moment for him, and there is rain forecast. But at this stage, I think Paul Nicholls is well within his rights to take the decision to pull the horse out for that particular race. So Altior, So Royale will face up to him and so forth. But it's a big plus point that the fact that Suriname's not in for Altior. It would be great to see the two of them race against each other, but it's not going to happen. And in the Oaksey Chase, it's good to see that Bryony Frost will be back tomorrow on Black Corton. Frodot, Black Corton. My mind is gone on that one. I think it is Black Corton, isn't it? For the Oaksey Chase, it will be a real intriguing race, that one. So we'll look forward to that. There's a few horses going to be parading tomorrow at Sandown. But the big race, a few champions, there'll be horses parading, of course, but from champions of the season will be parading at Sandown. But looking at the big race, the Bet365 Gold Cup handicap chase, as everybody keeps saying, the old Whitbread. But for a lot of younger racing fans, they'll just, what? Whitbread? What are you talking about? So it's the Bet365 Gold Cup chase, the last big handicap chase of the staying handicap chase of the season, over 3.5 miles. It's off at 3:35. Step Back, there's a few horses that featured in the Grand National in this race. There's a Step Back who was pulled up. You've also got Talk Is Cheap for Alan King, and there we also have the Young Master who was going to run in the Grand National, I believe. Anyway, he ran in the Kim Muir and ran really well. At Cheltenham, you have Give Me a Copper, you have Just a Sting, you have Beware the Bear, who won at Cheltenham and then pulled out the Scottish Grand National due to the ground. A horse that I like is Joe Farrell, former Scottish Grand National winner. Ran really well at Newbury back in March. Was a race to set him up for an engagement at the Grand National, or the Scottish Grand National. Just sneaked into the Grand National, of course, there was a lot of horses in that race. The likes of Step Back, who has a tendency to jump out to his right, which doesn't suit when you're going round Aintree, obviously. So he wasn't seeing the best effect. Joe Farrell wasn't probably at his best, but I think you can draw a line through that. Now, this is a horse that likes good ground. Excuse me. This is a horse that likes both good ground and soft ground. So he's won in both, having won the likes of Scottish Grand National in decent ground. But he won this in soft ground at Newbury back in March last year. So I think he is in with a fair shout. He's at a decent price. Sorry, my eyes are going. 16-1 he is. So is well worth a look at that price, Joe Farrell. And it's a competitive handicap. One lower down if the rain does come, and I'm quite surprised at the price it is. He ran really, I thought, pretty well in the Gold Cup. And he'll like it if the ground is a little bit cut up, and that's Yala Enki. They're in about 25s at the moment. As I say, the trip's not a problem. We've seen him win it in a bog at the likes of Haydock and the likes of the Grand National Trial and so on. So this horse won't if the rain does come and the ground does go soft, this horse will excel in that. So yeah, I think Yala Enki at a big each way price, but Joe Farrell, as I say, you can't rule him out either. Right, looking at the flat racing, let's go to Haydock Park and look at their 205, which is the Betway Old Boston handicap over 7 furlongs. You've got some familiar faces in here, the likes of Shady McCoy, Burnt Sugar. Now, Haydock does look like it's going to get pretty much a lot of rain overnight. It's good ground at the moment, good to firm ground at the moment, but I think that will change. And if so, then John Quinn's horse Safe Voyage should run well. Has run in soft ground previously at Haydock, in fact in this corresponding race last year. Didn't run so well at the back end of last season at Ascot in I think it was a Balmoral. Just never really get into the race at all. And you know, he's had a break obviously because of the winter. So this is his first race back. And you know, first time out, it's always going to be interesting to see how horses perform. But you know, John Quinn, I've always been a fan of his horses, and I think it's a tough handicap, but he seems to like Haydock, so Safe Voyage for me in that race. Right, looking at the card at Ripon, they've got a decent card there over at Ripon. Looking at the 255, the Celebrating Piper's Note handicap, over 6 furlongs here. You've got the likes of Piper's Note, Tarentum Star. There's a lot, again, like the race at Haydock, a lot of familiar faces here. Sandra's Secrets in there as well. You've got the old Staxton as well. But I'm going to go with Gin in the Inn, who this £5 claimer, John Davis, has really done well for Richard Fahey this season. This is a horse, no matter what the ground, seems to can perform in any of them. Won at Pontefract back in September under Paul Hannigan. Then went close at York a month after that. You know, goes through little nice periods of form, and he seems to run well fresh. You know, he had you're talking about these consistent handicappers, sometimes you see them every fortnight, but when he has a little layoff, like he did after a poor run at Thirsk, he had about a month off, came back to Ponty and won. So he's obviously had the whole winter off here, and Ripon's a racetrack that he's run well at before. So yeah, I would say Gin in the Inn around about 8 to 1 as a good shout there for the Barry team. And then looking at their 3:30, the visit at theraces.com handicap. This stayers race over 2 miles. Now I spoke earlier about the Queen's Cup race at Musselburgh, and there's a horse in here who ran in that race, didn't get the best of runs, it's fair to say. Andrew Breslin takes a ride this time, and he takes £5 off, and I think he's a real interesting one. Lucky Deal here for Mark Johnston. You know, as I say, he had one at Chelmsford. Well, I didn't. He's been running pretty well, and you know, he finished second at Kempton back in February, then followed that up with a win at Chelmsford. Then disappointed at Newcastle, but came back, and as I say, he went wide at shuffled out wide at Musselburgh and just couldn't get into it. Austrian School, as I say, very good horse, but this isn't as tough a race as that one at Musselburgh was, and I think Lucky Deal is a horse to stay on side with at the moment. There was a few Mark Johnson horses in that race that are to stay on side with, and another one of them is, you've got also another one of his horses in this race as well. I'm sure. Apologies, I'm just digging out this one at the moment. Yeah, Making Miracles. So, but I'll go with the Lucky Deal for it. Keith Douglas, Scottish trainer, has a couple in this. Eye of the Storm, who's got a decent. I would say his form at the back end of last season tailed off pretty miserably. So he's got a lot of work on his hand. But Marsal, will certainly be an interest. He's won this race twice before, and I backed him last year in this race when he won. But I fancy that Lucky Deal could prove to be the winner tomorrow. Right, that's it from me for this week's edition of CopaLoadofRacing. Next week, as I say, it's the Guineas weekend. We'll look forward to that. We'll also have a wee thoughts on the Sunday meeting at Hamilton. But for now, have a cracking weekend and CopaLoadofRacing.